This is Maureen Kafkis, the Brain BS coach, here to tell you about the episode today. So, in this episode, we're not going to be talking to RJ for his fifth episode of the experiment because he's sick and he has a cold and he's recovering. So, I decided to just do this episode on my own, and I'm keeping it brief because it's Tuesday night and I'm tired, but I didn't want to let you down and not have an episode here in the morning. So I'm just going to do this around the Brain BS experiment and trying to get some of you to maybe consider coming on the podcast and being part of the experiment. So sit back, settle in. Episode 173 of the Brain BS podcast, recruiting participants for the Brain BS experiments. Do you want more out of your life but not exactly sure what that might be? Are you longing for something but can't quite put your finger on what it is? That is the universe speaking to you, and it is time to listen up. I'm your host, Maureen Kafkis, the Brain BS coach. I created the Brain BS podcast to help people define what success means to them and show them how to get it. I help you to let go of fear and doubt and prepare your nervous system for success. I show you how to understand your own energy and to trust yourself to make all the decisions. If you are ready to go inward and stop looking outside yourself for all the answers, this is the podcast for you. Now let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the Brain BS podcast. So today I want to talk to you about Brain BS experiments, and the whole thing's an experiment. So it's going to be changing and evolving as we go. I started out offering people 1 to 5 sessions for being on the Brain BS podcast, which is a great deal, by the way. But I'm kind of wondering, well, I did say 1 to 5, but I'm actually kind of thinking about making it more like 1 to 3. So people only have to show up for the 3 episodes. There's still ways to work with me after you do the experiment if you're inspired to, and you'll be a part of the Brain BS community, and you'll have the course there, and you'll be able to ask me questions. So you're still going to get plenty of coaching for $100. That's what it costs to be in the experiment. So what happens is you decide that you want to do it. I send you a link, and the link has a thing where you purchase the Mastering Brain BS for Success course, and that comes with the Brain BS community. Now, both of those things are optional. So you buy the course, and that's something that you can do for yourself on your own at your own pace. You go into my website. You'll get an automated email after you sign up. It helps you sign up, and then you go into the introductory module. That's where you'll see a link to request an invitation to the Brain BS community on Facebook. The group where we interact together and where I put the link for our meetings is in our Facebook group, but the course is on my website. So just to be clear, 2 different places. And you will get once you join the community, that's where we interact and make plans and provide feedback about the course, that sort of thing. But the truth is, you don't have to do the course. I mean, I highly recommend that you do, but you're going to learn all this stuff anyway eventually because we talk about everything in the course on the podcast. Really, it's all about learning how to live consciously and manage your mind so you stop suffering so much, and quite honestly, you stop making other people around you suffer. Everybody thinks everybody else is the problem, and it's not. The problem is within you, and the only way that you're going to fix anything is by going inward and deciding how you want to deal with something based on your mindset, whether you want to, 1, accept it, 2, leave it, or 3, change it. And we don't always have the ability to change it. So acceptance also is not that easy. So that's why I offer Brain BS experiments, because it's not easy being a human with a brain. We're always torturing ourselves about something. There's so many things that you could come on the podcast to talk about. You could talk about weight. You could talk about family members. You could talk about empty nest. You could talk about, I mean, honestly, your dog. The fact that some of us have a problem accepting that our dogs are going to die before we do, if we're lucky. It could be feeling like you're a victim in your life and everything terrible is happening to you and you're kind of miserable because you're just super unhappy and feeling bitter and resentful. It could be, we could talk about anything, and we could do 1 episode, like I said, or we could do, I'm going to say 3, but I'd still do 5 if somebody wanted to. So you come on, we record our sessions together on Zoom. We talk just you and I. So there's two options. We do the podcast episode and I publish it like I have been with the RJ experiment, and we just put everything out there and you see everything in real time that everyone's learning. That's one option. Another option is you could come on the podcast and you could do it anonymously, and we could record the sessions and not publish the sessions. You just benefit from the work. And then I tell you what the synopsis of what I'm going to say is going to be about. And I publish that on the podcast, and we change the details so nobody knows that it's you. Here's the thing, when you go on social media or when you go on a podcast or you even start speaking up in your own community or in your family, it's kind of scary to be seen and heard. We think we want to be. We think that, that we're not. And then finally, when it starts to happen, it's not as easy as you might think. And your nervous system has to support all these people seeing you and hearing you. And there's going to be people that dislike you for sure and disagree with what you're doing, or they think you're full of yourself, or blah, blah, blah. That's about how much I listen to other people these days and what they think of me, because I know what I think about myself. That's why this work is so valuable and why I want to introduce it to more people. I want to get people to understand that when we sit around and we dwell in negativity, when we're judging the world as not being good enough, when we're thinking there's all kinds of terrible people and the world's coming to an end and the next election's going to kill all of us, it's not helping anything. It's making matters worse. I want to suggest that you become part of the solution in 2024 and stop being part of the problem. And yes, you are part of the problem if you're complaining constantly about reality. This is reality in 2024. There's all kinds of stuff that we might wish wasn't an issue that we're not talking about, that we have to talk about, that we don't want to talk about. But we do have to deal with everything that's happening. And the best way to do that is by going inward, cleaning up your little area of the world, your little corner, being the best version of you that you can be, having leadership energy and supporting the community around you. And that community could be a couple people, it could be your coworkers, it could be your family. I really want people to start considering that it's our responsibility to take care of one another. The government's not going to take care of us. Nobody else is going to take care of us. We have to do it. And the best way to do it is by promoting our emotional and mental health. And the best way to improve that and make that a priority is by learning how to live consciously and managing your mind. So, is anybody interested in being on the podcast? I would love to have you on the podcast. If you don't, I'm probably just going to start sharing stories about people I've worked with their permission, and what the work has done for them. Because I get messages and I get emails, and I just want to say, this is just what happens when you are passionate about something and you put yourself out there. You can have a real impact on the world. You don't have to be Oprah Winfrey. You don't have to be Brene Brown, or, have all this wild success and recognition. If you change a few people's lives for the better, I mean, it's pretty freaking awesome. I love it. And every time I do something for someone else and it improves their life or inspires them, I become more inspired and it makes me love my life even more. So that's about it. I don't have much else to say, I don't think. I know it can be scary when you do something like this. So I just want to remind you that the first episode that I did with RJ, I sensed that maybe he was going to regret a couple of the things he said, that he shared too much. And sure enough, I reached out to him and he was uncomfortable with it. So I just scrapped the whole episode. We just started over and we redid it, because that's how concerned I am and devoted I am to my guests that come on here. I'm not gonna put you in a situation where you're panicking because of something that we did together. You can totally trust me 100%. I will we will talk about everything beforehand. We will make sure that you're comfortable. I just want you to know it's a really safe, emotional environment. You don't even have to turn on your video if it makes you uncomfortable. I've had people that aren't comfortable turning on the video. we can be pretty accommodating, we can be pretty flexible. I really believe that this is really important work. I'm going to be going into my community here in Santa Barbara and looking for people to participate in the experiment. I'm going to be going to local businesses here to try to get people to partner with me to make their emotional and mental health a priority and get as many people as I can to do experiments on the Brain BS podcast. So it's 2024, just beginning. My word this year is experiment. And that's where it came from. When I started thinking about how I wanted to experiment with this work with people who have never done it before. So this is kind of what you might call a cold audience. There's, it's not like I'm selling, I don't know, heaters and it's Antarctica and nobody else is selling them and you have to have them. This is a lot more work for me. And you might think, well, why the hell is she doing this at 60 years old? But honestly, I can't think of anything I would rather be doing, anything more inspiring. And I am going to figure it out. I know I am. And I'm going to help a lot of people. And I'm going to create something in this community here that people can actually go to. Like a brick and mortar place is my goal, a center, Brain BS Center, where we help people and we partner with everybody to make the community a better place. And then I will support other communities and other locations in other states and other cities with other coaches who are like-minded and go and support their efforts for what they're trying to do in their community. And that's about all I got for you tonight. So I hope you had a happy holiday, happy new year to and help me welcome in 2024. I want you to think about maybe like what I just talked about this with the Brain BS community on our call tonight. What is like maybe one of the best things that happened to you in 2023 that you want to bring with you into 2024? And maybe what is something that you prefer to leave in 2023 that you don't need anymore and you're just going to leave it behind? And then like really start thinking about what you want to create in 2024. Think about experimenting too, like my word. I want you to borrow my word, and whatever your word is, and you can combine them. Because if you can experiment and play with this stuff and not be so heavy and serious about everything and not get so attached to outcomes and thinking that you know what's best when we know the universe knows better than us, like try experimenting. Just try doing some different stuff. If you do this same thing, you're going to get the same results. It can't go any other way. So you have to change your internal state, and you'll know if you actually did because your environment will change. And if your environment doesn't change, then you didn't change as much as you think you did. So really start paying attention to this, really get intentional and start thinking about what you want in 2024. Don't think about how you're going to do it or how it's going to happen. Figure out what it is and then come to me and be an experiment on the Brain BS podcast. Okay, guys, next episode will be RJ's 5th episode. And then we will hopefully have somebody else to do an experiment. I know you learned something valuable here today. I'll see you next episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Brain BS podcast. I hope you really learned something here today that can be helpful and that you can apply to your own life. If you find it useful, I would appreciate it if you gave me a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts and shared the podcast with everyone you know so that I can reach more people and help them to learn how to live consciously and live the life they really want. If you'd like to be on the podcast, you can email me at mkcoachllc@gmail.com or message me on Facebook. Until the next time.